Oded Ailam, great to be with you. Tell us about your background. Where did you come from and what's your history?
My background is I graduated at the University of Beersheba as industrial engineer, and then I was recruited to the Mossad. I served 24 years in the Mossad, mainly on the operational arena, working undercover in different places of the world with different missions and so on. And eventually, I was a commander, and then I was the director of the counter-terrorism center of the Mossad, which was responsible to foil any sort of terror around the globe. And afterwards, I was a deputy chief of operation of the Mossad, and then I realized that I have no chance of being the director of the Mossad. I'm not a good politician, and I'm even a lousy politician, and I quit. And I went into the private world and business of homeland security, consulting to states, to governments, to enterprises about homeland security. And also, I'm a researcher at the center in Jerusalem. And another thing that I'm doing is I'm writing scripts to Hollywood.
Interesting.
Based on my personal experience.
Yeah.
So we are writing scripts and producing films and television series.
Wow, that's fascinating. What is? Are there many stories? I'm sure you can't tell. Are there threats to Israel at every moment that the Mossad is working to thwart?
First of all, I'm a veteran. Okay, I'm not in the Mossad anymore. Okay, so it's important to emphasize that. Of course, 24/7 threats all around. It's from all sorts of potential adversaries and potential enemies, and it's not just within the border of Israel, but also on the outside, everywhere. And so the Mossad is pretty much preoccupied all the time in trying to foil and trying to elicit some sort of intelligence that you can share with local services in order to protect either Jewish communities or Israeli interests or Israelis. It's 24/7, all the time, and it's a sort of a work that never ends.
Yeah. How would you describe the threats to Israel right now?
The threat to Israel right now is mainly it comes from our most violent, stubborn, and I would say even sophisticated adversary, which is Iran. And Iran is the composer of whatever we see here. Although they do not take credit for any sort of any kind of attack that is initiated by proxies and like Hezbollah or like the Houthis or the Hamas and so on, but they are the big brother who actually hold the strings, and everybody is playing like a marionette to the theme and to the music the Iranians are initiating. And so the major threat to Israel is Iran. And I'm not just talking about the nuclear program, which is everybody knows about it, but I'm talking about initiating terror acts around the world against Jewish and Israeli targets all the time. And lately what we have seen is something which quite unique, is an effort made by Iranians to recruit Israelis as assets or as spies or even as operators to initiate terror acts. And when I'm talking about Israeli citizens, I'm talking about Jews. This is something that we haven't seen before on such a scale. And the way they are doing that, they are working on the big numbers. They will try to approach 1,000 potential spies. They will succeed with 1 or 2. It's okay with them. I mean, the system and the concept and their philosophy is completely different from Western's intelligence services. We consider a spy as an asset. And when we mean an asset, it's someone that we want to nurture, we want to keep his safety, we want to prolong his mission as much as possible, and we're trying to do it in a way that would not jeopardize the mission on one hand, but on the other hand, will keep his integrity and his safety. The Iranians don't work that way. For the Iranians, it's like a dispensable spy. They can get rid of it in a moment, but they're working on big numbers, and this is something that is phenomenal. We haven't seen such a scale before, and now we have to face a new dimension in the tag of war between us and the Iranian intelligence.
What are your thoughts about the current negotiations going on between Iran and the U.S.?
The current negotiation between Iran and the U.S. has started off very well by Trump administration actually drawing the borderlines, saying they will not have a nuclear capability. We're going to engage in negotiation not only regarding the nuclear program, but also the use of proxies, the ballistic missiles, their capabilities of the Iranians, and eventually they backed off. They backed off from all the standard that they put at the beginning, and I'm talking about 2 months ago, something like that. And now we are focusing mainly on the nuclear apparatus. And even that, we are not talking, the Americans, not Israel, not talking about annihilating the whole nuclear program, but sort of maintaining the same deal that had been conducted during Obama days in 2015, which Trump withdrew from that deal, but with a little bit more, I would say, some camouflage and flying colors, and maybe add some ingredients into it. But basically, it seems that they are going to the same deal, but of course with some added value. And this is something that Israel, under no circumstances, can tolerate. We have to make all the possible efforts in order to convince the administration not to go back on the same deal with some sort of improvements, and to stick to the first initial declaration that Trump had made regarding what is his vision regarding Iran. And this is getting a little bit farther from what we had expected. And one of the reasons that I see is there is no real, I would say, intelligence work that support the American administration, especially the Special Envoy Stephen Witkoff, which I'm not that sure how much he has the ability to understand the complexity of the whole process. He doesn't come from this work. His mindset is like a businessman. And it's not the language that we speak here in our neighborhood. This is a tough neighborhood. We speak completely different language here, and I'm not sure he speaks the language. And this is something that bothers me regarding where we are going from here. The Iranian would prolong the talks for years. You know, the Iranians never won a war in 200 years, but never lost one argument or one engagement. So this is something that Israel must be very, very focused, and we should be close to the ear of the decision makers in the administration in order not to allow to slide away from the Israeli interest and the Israeli goals.
Yeah, they're trying right now. It seems that there's a difference of opinion between what Israel wants and what the Trump administration is at least pursuing right now. What can be done? What could Israel do? Can Israel have the capability unilaterally by themselves to destroy Iran's nuclear program?
Let me divide my answer into a few subjects. First of all, I would answer you the last one. The answer is unfortunately no. Israel does not have the capability of completely annihilating and destroying the Iranian nuclear program independently, simply because the fact that they are hidden and stashed in mountains, and we don't have the ammunition and the capability of reaching those places and causing such a damage that will actually last long and destroy the 10,000 centrifuges that are supposedly working. For that, you need a special ammunition. It's called the Moab. Only the Americans have this bomb. Only two aircrafts can carry it. One is the B-2, and the other one is another sort of aircraft, and Israel doesn't have it. So in order to inflict a damage that will be sustainable on the Iranians, Israel will have to use a combination of air power and boots on the ground. And this is very complicated business. We did it in Syria about 8 months ago. We destroyed CERS, the special research center. And we did it according to newspapers with commando forces. But Iran is a different ballgame. It's a very, very dangerous and risky mission to send enormous amount of troops on the ground to do whatever we have to do. And so in order to completely destroy the nuclear facilities, we need to have some sort of mutual campaign that will be joined by the Americans, maybe even other NATO forces or even some other forces, in order to inflict a real long-lasting damage. So I don't see the option of Israel right now attacking independently. Having said that, when you are with your back to the wall, everything is possible. I mean, that is an option, but I don't see it as a very realistic option. I think Israel right now should focus in order to lead the administration to a new agreement with the Iranian that will not be restrained only to less than 60% enrichment, but should focus on deriving the Iranians from the capability of enrichment, even 3.2. Because, to reach from 3.2 enrichment of uranium to 60 is the most difficult part. Once you did it, to reach 90%, which is what you needed for a nuclear warhead, it's very easy. It can take weeks. And they already possess 270 kilos of enriched uranium to 60%, which is more or less 4 nuclear warheads. Of course, there is all the apparatus of the ammunition and the warhead, which is very, very complicated. But it's a matter of knowledge and a matter of will. And so Israel should really try to do the utmost in order to convince the Americans not to go into some sort of agreement that will enable the Iranians to continue enrichment and also possess the already 270 kilos they have. How to do it, it's complicated, but it's possible.
Yeah. What's the Mossad's, or formerly Mossad, assessment that you're aware of about Iran's ability to put together a weapon, not just the enriched uranium, but also miniaturization, putting on a warhead, putting it on a missile?
The ability of Iran to assemble a warhead derives from two North Korean engineers and a changing of the fatwa. That's all. They don't need much more than that. I mean, first of all, there's a fatwa made by Khomeini that doesn't allow Iran to develop a nuclear weapon. You have to change it. But this is very easy. Just make another fatwa and that's it. The second thing is the knowledge of assembling such a warhead, which is very, very complicated, and it has to be very meticulous, very accurate. It's a high-tech, high-end engineering. But for that, there are North Koreans.
So if you brought the North Koreans with the expertise, it wouldn't be that far.
You have it.
Yeah. What do you think, how would you describe the situation in Gaza right now?
The situation in Gaza is right now is some sort of a standstill because Israel hasn't yet determined what is our strategy in Gaza. On one hand, we want to annihilate completely the military capabilities of the Hamas and also their governing of Gaza. The Hamas are willing, by the way, to give the government to anyone who just want to do it. They're even suggesting that the Palestinian Authority will go in. This is not a new thing, by the way. In 2017, they actually signed an agreement in Cairo between Dahlan and Yahya Sinwar regarding that, and then one who jeopardized that was Abu Mazen. He didn't want to get into this mess, and of course his resentments towards Dahlan also contributed to his rejection from this agreement. But they said it all the way. We don't want to be responsible about the garbage. We don't want to be responsible about the sewer system. We don't want to fix the roads. No, it's okay. You take some dignified people with suits and ties, and they will be the front. What they're trying to achieve is some sort of copy-paste of Hezbollah in Lebanon, which means we are not the government, we are not the president, we are not even the ruling party, but in fact, we dictate everything. This is what they thrive, and this is what they are trying to do in all sort of way. And all the suggestions that are being floated right now in the air all leads to the same conclusion. And this is something Israel cannot tolerate under no circumstances. We cannot let these jihadic fanatics maintain their power in Gaza, because anyone who will try to rule Gaza, we have to confront with them at the end of the day. Anyone. They will actually dictate everything. So, on the other hand, we have the hostages. And the hostages, it's something that is actually tearing our country apart. Yeah. And so we are fighting, in fact, two wars right now. One is external with Hamas, and one is internal within us. And those two wars reflects the complexity that Israel is right now in. And this is why the government is finding a difficult time to determine what's going to be the next phase. Either go in full force into Gaza, eliminate the capability of the Hamas completely, and then install some sort of an intermediate or governing system until we find what is the optimal solution for Gaza. On the other hand, there are people who are advocating that let's surrender to any of the Hamas demands in order to get the hostages back. And those are two conflicting ideas that cannot go together.
Mm-hmm. Well, we'll see what Israel will do. Oded Ailam, thanks for joining us.
Thank you for having me.